Hello students, let's begin Bertolt Brecht. This is Brecht. Full name is Eugene Berthold Friedrich Brecht. He was born on 10th February 1898 at Augsburg, Bavaria, German Empire. He died on 14th August 1956, aged 58, in East Berlin, East Germany. He was a German by nationality, and his occupations were he was known as playwright, theatre director, and poet. His notable works are the three-penny opera Life of Galileo, Mother Courage and Her Children, The Good Person of Szechuan, The Cossakian, Chalk Circle, Mr. Quintilla and His Man Matty, The Resistible Rise of Otto Ui. Eugene Berthold Friedrich Brecht was a child known as Eugene, but professionally he is known as Bertolt Brecht. He was born on 10th February 1898 in Augsburg, Germany, the son of Bertolt Friedrich Brecht, 1869 to 1939, and his wife Sophie, née Brezing, 1871 to 1920. Brecht's mother was a devout Protestant and his father a Roman Catholic who had been persuaded to have a Protestant wedding. The modest house where he was born is today preserved as Brecht Museum. So the house where he was born is today preserved as Brecht Museum. His father worked for a paper mill, becoming its managing director in 1914. Due to his mother's influence, Brecht knew the Bible, a familiarity that would have a lifelong effect on his writing. From her too came the dangerous image of self-denying woman, which we can see in Brechtian dramas. That occurs in his drama. Brecht's home life was comfortably middle class, despite what his occasional attempt to claim peasant origins implied. At school in Augsburg, he met Caspar Neher, with whom he formed a lifelong creative partnership. Neher designed many of the sets of Brecht's dramas and helped to forge the distinctive visual iconography of their epic theatre. Brecht is known for epic theatre, and we have his epic theatre in our syllabus of MA Final in Unit 1st. So we will be discussing that later. So before, we must know the theorist before we know the theory. When Brecht was 16, the First World War broke out. Initially enthusiastic, Brecht soon changed his mind on seeing his classmates swallowed by the army. Brecht was nearly expelled from school in 1915 for writing an essay in response to the line Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori from the Roman poet Horace, calling it Zweck propaganda, cheap propaganda for specific purpose, and arguing that only an empty-headed person could be persuaded to die for their country. His expulsion was only prevented by the intervention of Romuald Sauer, a priest who also served as a substitute teacher at Brecht's school. Okay, so he was of the revolutionary spirit and he did not like it dying for the country and all theories. Excuse me. On his father's recommendation, Brecht sought to avoid being conscripted into the army by exploiting a loophole which allowed for medical students to be deferred. He subsequently registered for a medical course at Munich University, where he enrolled in 1917. There he studied drama with Arthur Kischer, who inspired in the young Brecht an admiration for iconoclastic dramatist and cabaret star Frank Wedekind. From July 1916, Brecht's newspaper article began appearing under the new name Bert Brecht. His first theatre criticism for the Augsburger Volkswille appeared in October 1919. Brecht was drafted into military service in the autumn of 1918, only to be posted back to Augsburg as a medical orderly in a military VD clinic. The war ended a month later. In July 1919, the end of World War I, Brecht and Paula Benholzer, who had begun a relationship in 1917, had a son Frank. In 1920, Brecht's mother died. Sometime in either 1920 or 21, Brecht took a small part in the political cabaret of the Munich comedian Karl Valentin. Brecht's diaries for the next few years record numerous visits to see Valentin perform. Brecht compared Valentin to Charlie Chaplin for his virtually complete rejection of mimicry and cheap psychology. So he was not of that mentality. Brecht's first full-length play, Ball, written in 1918, arose in response to an argument in one of Kucher's drama seminars, initiating a trend that persisted throughout his career of creative activity that was generated by a desire to counter another work, both others and his own, and his many adaptations and rewrites attest. Anyone can be creative, he quipped. It's rewriting other people that's a challenge. Brecht completed his second major play, Drums in the Night, in February 1919, and between November 1921 and April 1922, Brecht made acquaintance with many influential people in Berlin cultural scene. Amongst them was playwright Arnold Bronnen, with whom he established a joint venture, the Arnold Bronnen Bertolt Brecht Company. Brecht changed the spelling of his first name to Bertolt to rhyme with Arnold. In 1922, while still living in Munich, Brecht came to the attention of an influential Berlin critic, Herbert Ehring. At 24, the writer Bert Brecht has changed Germany's literary complexion overnight. He enthused in his review of Brecht's first play to be produced, Drums in the Night. He has given our times a new tone, a new melody, a new vision. It is a language you can feel on your tongue, in your jumps, your ears, your spinal column. So this is what the critics say about Brecht, and especially Herbert Ehring. In November, it was announced that Brecht had been awarded the prestigious Kleist Prize, intended for unestablished writers and probably Germany's most significant literary award, until it was abolished in 1932. For his first three plays, Ball, Drums in the Night, and In the Jungle, although at the point only drums had been produced. The citation for the award insisted that Brecht's language is vivid without being deliberately poetic, symbolical without being over-literary. Brecht is a dramatist because his language is felt physically and in the round. That year he married the Windsee opera singer Marianne Zoff. Their daughter, Han Hiob, born in March 1923, was a successful German actress. In 1923, Brecht wrote a scenario for what was to become a short slapstick film, Mysteries of Barbershop, directed by Eric Engel and starring Karl Valentin. Despite a lack of success at the time, its experimental inventiveness and the subsequent success of many of its contributors have meant that it is now considered one of the most important films in the German film history. In May of that year, Brecht's In Jungle premiered in Munich, also directed by Engel. Opening night proved to be a scandal, a phenomenon that would characterize many of his later productions during the Weimar Republic, in which Nazis blew whistles and threw stink bombs at the actors on the stage. In 1924, Brecht worked with the novelist and playwright Leon Furtwängler, whom he had met in 1919, on an adaptation of Christopher Marlowe's Edward II that proved to be a milestone in Brecht's early theatrical and dramaturgical development. Brecht's Edward II constituted his first attempt at collaborative writing and was the first of many classic texts he was to adapt. As his first solo directorial debut, he later credited it as the germ of his conception of epic theatre. That September, a job as assistant dramaturge at Max Reinhardt's Deutz Theatre, at the time one of the leading 3 or 4 theatres in the world, brought him to the Berlin. So this is his effigy statue made outside that theatre. Brecht developed the combined theory and practice of his epic theatre by synthesizing and extending the experiments of Erwin Piscator and Westwald Meyerhold to explore the theatre as a forum for political ideas and the creation of a critical aesthetics of dialectical materialism. He says, art is not a mirror held up to reality but a hammer with which to shape it. That is his theory of epic theatre. Epic theatre proposed that a play should not cause the spectator to identify emotionally with the characters or actions before him or her, but should instead provoke rational self reflection and a critical view of the action on the stage. Brecht thought that the experience of a climatic catharsis of emotion left an audience complacent. Instead, he wanted his audience to adopt a critical perspective in order to recognize social injustice and exploitation and to be moved to go forth from the theatre and effect change in the world outside. For this purpose, Brecht employed the use of techniques that remind the spectator that the play is a representation of reality and not reality itself. By highlighting the constructed nature of the theatrical event, Brecht hoped to communicate that the audience reality was equally constructed and such was changeable. Brecht's modernist concern with drama as a medium led to his refinement of the epic form of the drama. This dramatic form is related to similar modernist innovations in other arts, including the strategy of divergent chapters in James Joyce's novel Ulysses, Sergei Einstein's evolution of constructive montage in the cinema, and Picasso's introduction of cubist collage in the visual arts. So Brecht, in the modernist concern has developed the epic form of the drama or the epic theatre, and he has been compared with James Joyce and Picasso, and in cinema with Sergei Einstein and Picasso in the art, visual art, and Ulysses in the novelist. So he is a multi-talented, multi-dimensional dramatist as well as critic, and we will be reading his theory of epic theatre in the next lecture. Thank you very much.